Hello and welcome to the 2023 Leading Transformational Change Forum, brought to you by One Business World and the Consortium for Change. I am Jennifer McEwen, and I will be moderating today's session, Reskilling the Workforce as the New Competitive Advantage, and have the privilege of introducing our speaker, Sheryl Brinkley. Sheryl Brinkley is an executive coach, certified leadership and employee development professional, and is an International Coaching Federation accredited coach. She is a career acceleration catalyst and understands the needs of clients who desire promotions into senior level leadership ranks. With over 20 years working in various leadership and training roles, she has cultivated a proven track record of assisting individuals and leaders in the discovery of self-confidence, signature strengths, and realizing their untapped potential. She has worked in various Fortune 100 companies as well as government and utility sectors. Sheryl leverages both emotional intelligence and positive intelligence methodologies as she works with clients. She believes that having both lenses of self-awareness and mental fitness to quiet mind chatter and interrupt saboteur tendencies enables clients to be fully equipped to show up in the world of work and in their personal lives more present and fulfilled. Sheryl is a champion, advocate, and accountability partner. She cultivates a space where she quickly garners trust and makes it possible to assist clients in uncovering and discovering how to leverage their best selves, as well as support their acumen to lead from a more engaged and adaptable space. Sheryl, it's over to you.
Hey, thank you so much, Jennifer, for that warm introduction. And it is a privilege to be here with all of you in this moment to share a few perspectives on reskilling the workforce as a competitive advantage. Now, the topic of reskilling is complex. Some companies are on the leading edge of this effort, while others are mired in the adjustments of a post-pandemic world. In either case, determining whether to reskill or not will be interpreted through the lens of each company's internal construct, their needs, as well as their present and future realities based upon industry and other factors. Now, one thing is for certain, and that is that the pandemic ushered in a new way of life for individuals and companies alike. And I have heard it said that we are on the cusp of a modern day industrial revolution that is being shaped and is unfolding right before our eyes. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, what we call VUCA conditions, are a way of life and is a certain reality that can be applied to internal corporate conditions as well as the external operating environment. As companies, employees, and global economies adjust to life that was forever changed at the start of 2020, as well as in the 3-year post-pandemic chapter, we are all witnessing the rise of AI in full swing in the midst of staffing and labor shortages, as well as supply chain disruptions that lingered well into the first part of 2023. Due to this new paradigm, companies continue to explore and navigate how to pivot and profit at the same time. Now let's face it, human capital is what makes the world go around. Even in the present reality of the rise of chatbots and other emerging technologies designed to bring increased efficiencies, yet companies must continue to seek ways to remain viable and attractive and sought after in the race to acquire and retain top-tier and highly skilled talent. Today, we will offer 3 key considerations for the importance of looking strategically at the prospect of reskilling the internal workforce to support the bottom line for the long term and the road ahead. So we will look at employee engagement and retention, leadership and pipeline development, and technological capability and adoption. But first, let us define the word reskilling. Reskilling is when an employee develops new skills to take on an entirely different role, and this is different from upskilling, which is to teach an employee additional skills to perform a current role. The World Economic Forum, the WEF, reports that there is a looming global emergency brewing that if companies fail to plan and implement reskilling measures as soon as possible, they will fall behind the curve altogether. A 2020 McKinsey & Company report noted that 87% of executives identified skill gaps in their workforce, and Gartner performed a special case study comparing a 2017 job requirement, looking at the skills compared to 2021 job skills requirement, and they waved a glaring red flag by reporting that the skills from 2017 were either no longer relevant or were completely obsolete compared to 2021. So as we look to wrap up 2023 and looking ahead into 2024, the skill gap continues to widen. We are seeing the acceleration of a world where conditions and needs are changing faster than training systems and companies have developed their workforce. And 2025 is just 2 years away when it is projected that 40% of the world's workforce will have outdated skills by this date if companies fail to react to the winds of change. Point number 1, as it pertains to employee engagement and retention efforts, companies who move with urgency to make internal shifts will innovate their thinking, look at their present construct while deep diving and identifying segments of their workforce that may be in imminent need of learning new skills. And by doing so, employers will have ready access to a homegrown talent pool that can be leveraged to be developed without the expense of going back out to market to reacquire. One strategy that can be explored would be to capture the savings from going back out to acquire new talent by saving on the onboarding costs that would take to engineer and go and hire externally. And instead reinvest the dollars by locating training providers to support the in-house efforts vis-a-vis a train-to-trainer model to accelerate the ramp up of teaching new technologies to at-risk personnel to meet what is needed in the present and future landscape. LinkedIn CEO Ryan Roslansky observed that companies need to shift their mindsets and adopt a skills-first model. Now, this will ensure that internal talent is equally matched with the role, placing lesser weight on the education level or the prestige of a college or the brand recognition and notoriety of a previous employer if they are acquiring new talent, and instead setting a skills-first focus as the key component for the talent acquisition strategy. Roslansky further explains that focusing on the specific skills required to run the enterprise today and into the future also bears what I will frame as conducting a gap analysis to determine how much of the existing workforce already possess the sought-after skills and are ready to be redeployed elsewhere within the organization where they're needed to take on new strategic challenges, and this is of vital importance. By his estimation, a company who has had a steady track record and a culture of employee development investment could potentially realize an approximate 75% retention rate for the workforce, where coworkers had regular opportunities to promote and rotate and move around into other roles in real time, thereby growing their skill sets, resulting in an employee base who is confident in their ability to ride the waves of change and be adaptable. And they are most likely to be the most engaged and the most loyal. Companies who are on the forefront of this reskilling revolution include Intuit, Lockheed Martin, UPS, Citibank, AbbVie, Procter & Gamble, John Deere, Freddie Mac, and Amazon, and there are others. But this landscape demonstrates that there is no one sector that is immune to building a resilient strategy to retain as much of their current workforce as possible and creatively sourcing ways to retain them in real time. An example of one company's creative and intentional approach to source talent in this constrained labor market has been to rehire former employees in a boomerang strategy. Common Spirit has focused their strategy on reattracting past employees for faster ramp up, culture assimilation, immediate engagement, and known fit. And they have enjoyed a 9% return rate over the past few years. Now, on the flip side, and to observe what has occurred for companies who have conducted mass layoffs only to find themselves going back out to market to rehire, SAP's story uncovers 3 reasons for this counterintuitive process. 1, there were changes to the corporate model or the location strategy, which forced a company to pivot and go back out to market to acquire talent to meet business needs. In other words, they let too many skilled workers walk out the door. In the aftermath of post-layoffs, SAP found that they now have a mismatch between current skills and the skills needed for mission-critical delivery. They cannot drive new innovation or support growth without having the talent. And finally, company leadership failed to conduct their gap analysis to understand and explore the range and depth of skill set on hand to redeploy resources in other business areas, which resulted in double hiring and spending new dollars on onboarding costs by going back out to reacquire new talent. This amplifies the fact that critical decision-making around current talent requires slowing down to understand the best pathway forward. An additional element for consideration is to ensure that any reskilling plan includes a communication strategy to share with the workforce about upcoming changes and opportunities while providing clear and frequent messaging about how leadership is actively evaluating ways to reskill and train the at-risk employee base. Now, this in turn engenders loyalty and generates a boost to morale. Consider designing and communicating incentive programs for employees who possess the in-demand skill sets and ask them to step up to be training leads, to take rotations to support innovative and cutting-edge approaches in resource reallocation, or to support engineering or rewriting new code for existing process flow plans, generating solutions from within to drive the company forward in the face of its changing landscape, which serves to fully maximize skills on hand and re-educate and train the workforce at the same time. By reducing the worry and fear of job loss, coupled with actions that reinforce the company's mission and vision and their values of employee belonging, while being transparent about commitments to human talent in the face of VUCA challenges, they will reap rewards on the bottom line and preserve brand positioning in the market. Point number 2, as companies examine their retention and reskilling strategy, executive leadership in parallel must determine how they will equip current leaders and prepare rising executives for managing in a constant state of uncertainty. In the past, the ebbs and flows of the global economy have presented challenges for many companies to remain consistent with their leadership pipeline development plans. The reality is, in times such as what we are experiencing, now requires that the investment in people leadership be viewed as an imperative and not a luxury. The do more for less approach has not only impacted employees, but has inadvertently created a mid-tier leadership issue that is bending to the point of breaking under the compression of leading with fewer resources, lack of administrative support, and not having properly aligned compensation for the expectation of the job at hand. In the July 2023 article, a 2024 survival guide, Navigating Leadership in a Rapidly Changing World, Red Power, co-founder of Accountability Incorporated, provides a list of behaviors and actions that people leaders will need to be mindful of and adopt while focusing on the drive for bottom line results. The competencies needed to lead organizations and people today and forward will require different approaches than what generations of past leaders embraced and were viewed as successful on their rise up the chain of command. Domains of self-awareness and resilience will be key parts of the survival and thriving strategy to avoid burnout and pipeline leakage in the midst of managing in complex business environments. Red's list includes the prioritization of leaders' mental and physical health, embracing and fostering innovation and agility culture, prioritizing sustainability and social responsibility. And leaders, they need to create and nurture and cultivate a support system for themselves. And cultivating a crisis management skill plan, being proactive about it to address the unexpected. And finally, being proactive and not reactive on social issues. That is taking a stand on DEI and B and climate change and embed this within the mission, vision, and values and live up to that policy. The survival guide can serve as a blueprint for the ways in which leadership development programs are shaped and where to focus the efforts. Also, having a holistic plan ensures that all leaders, high potentials, and those who may be struggling under the burden are fully supported and equipped to thrive in their roles to lead the charge forward. Succession planning efforts need to ensure that there is a way to signal to rising talent that the organization sees them, believes in their talent, and expresses that there is a plan to support their ascension. Without this level of visibility, quality talent become disillusioned in times of change and will not lean into the moment as a growth opportunity, and quite frankly, may look for more reasons to leave versus staying. To add to the list of suggested items for the executive strategy for leadership development, include embedding a coaching culture where executives, mid-level, and rising people leaders have access to executive coaches for support in their essential skill development to influence more effectively, lead with head and heart, regulate their self-awareness, and build their resilience. A few companies who have adopted a coaching culture include Google, Deloitte, Microsoft, Intel, Airbnb, Adobe, and LinkedIn. Companies with coaching cultures become coaches. They provide coaches as support and also equip their leaders to coach. According to the Harvard Business Review article, The Leader as Coach, it is imperative that leaders take on a coaching mindset and approach to leading their teams. Now, this slide contains the 6 key elements that are essential and are most needed as far as benchmarking results are concerned for cultivating a strong coaching culture within organizations. And companies are having an eye towards continuous improvement, asking powerful questions and empowering employees to take charge of their own development, all lead to better business outcomes and results. And as a positive intelligence and mental fitness coach myself, my recommendation is to include these layers of self-awareness development factors to attend to and amplify leader emotional intelligence, which will enable leaders to shift and lean into agile and adaptable mindsets by quieting and helping them with their distracting and negative mind chatter, as well as minimizing their inner critics. This will support the departure from old leadership management frameworks. And let's face it, in this new global economy with 2025 skills on the horizon and the emergence of a new generation of coworkers into the workforce, this is going to require a different leadership mentality. We must accept that 1980s or pre-pandemic model will not make the grade. The future of work requires that the type of leadership that will support ushering in our emerging and managing the changing global landscape is part of this mix. Measures of success will evolve around people leaders who have mindsets that are primed for innovation and will know how to motivate and get the best out of human resources in the spirit of collaboration, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Leaders will need to learn and adopt a level of mental agility that is anchored in a resilient and thriving perspective, one that is holistic and viewed as employee and customer-centric. Both must and can be true in support of driving leaner and profitable operations. And in order to prepare leaders in this manner, it will require intentional investments to get them there that have not been tapped into before. The budget allocation must be viewed as a must-do and not discretionary. Consistency in this domain will be the strategic differentiator for organizational health. Our third and final point. As we see technology continuing to evolve right before our eyes, the important thing here is to accept, embrace, and adopt and assimilate the latest features into the company's operating model and make a pivot. One example of a company who's on the forefront of this reskilling effort is Intuit. Intuit is known in the market as an accounting and tax preparation software company. Now, in her words, Intuit's Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, who is also the head of talent development, Humaira Shahid, stated that at every major inflection point, there has to be an evolution. Intuit is transforming into a fully AI-driven company. She says that the way that we are organized is different, and the skill sets that we need are rapidly changing, especially in technology. Now, over the past 40 years, Intuit repeatedly reinvented itself. They were making acquisitions during that time. They were selling off sectors of the business, all the while examining their workforce and making training decisions in support of coworkers whose former skills were either in decline or were suddenly obsolete or were no longer needed to drive business operations. And as we speak, Intuit's CEO, Sasan Goodrazi, is doubling down on reskilling as Intuit navigates the challenges of this present labor market and the shortages that were prompted by the economic climate. Now, I will add here that Intuit, during the pandemic, they shed some talent resources during that time, but they are now positioned in the process of hiring to realign to this new strategic vision of becoming this fully AI functional organization. Throughout the telling of their story, the quote that struck me the most by the CDO, Officer Shahid, was that companies that want to become technologically innovative must invest in training resources, and they must invest in training their employees. You just cannot buy your way there. The pathway forward is for companies to bring in the resources that they need to get the labor force ready to meet the market and with the responsiveness necessary in the delivery of services and products that meet customer expectations in this global economy. My final point is that technology has to be solved for. There is no way around it. And the beauty in this that I see is that if senior leadership at the top of the organizational chain really take the time to understand that their human talent can meet this moment if they are tapped, trusted, and invited into the process to participate, they will bring their creativity, their ingenuity, and imagination to support moving the organization forward. The saying goes, Many hands make light work, but I will add a twist here. Many bright and willing minds can lean in and produce solutions that design thinking approaches can uncover and help to discover the changes needed to help reinvent, to thrive and prosper in this new dawning era. I'd like to thank the One Business World team and the Consortium for Change for this amazing opportunity to present to you on reskilling the workforce for the new competitive advantage. And feel free to use the QR code to connect with me and discuss how we might work together, as well as connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you DM me and you'd like the slide deck, I'd be happy to share that with you. I'll open the floor for questions at this time.
Yeah, Sheryl, that was certainly thought-provoking. And I think time permits one question at least. There's so many. In the leadership and pipeline development point number 2, you mentioned that organizations should not keep hypos in the dark if they want to succeed in reskilling. What's one way they might shine a light, so to speak, on hypos in a way that doesn't figuratively blind them, knowing that organizations sometimes promote people too fast and risk them failing?
That's a great question. I have a soft spot in my heart for high potentials and for the mid-level leaders, those who are in the middle. And this is a provocative question. I think it bears a bit of what I would call some really proactive thought here. One of the things that I think that can be considered are thinking out of the box strategies, such as creating some sort of paradigm where high potentials can take advantage, and also mid-level leaders who are feeling the pinch at this time, somehow forming some sort of partnership and developmental opportunity where hypos can step in and support some of these leaders. And I think it's kind of a win-win situation where hypos can get some exposure to, you know, what people leadership looks like before actually putting those shoes on and without the pressure of doing so. And then also learning what's going on in the business and how, you know, how that level operates. And I think it will help them begin to shift out of that individual contributor mindset and begin to formulate their people leadership acumen in that way. And then also being that they're, you know, probably fairly new in the organization and rising up pretty fast in the chain, that they're bright stars. They're looking for stretch. And so this is also an opportunity for them to perhaps observe what's going on with the way things are being done, as far as tools and things that the company currently has. And maybe they can innovate and help to while doing some supportive work, innovate some new ways of doing work that bring more efficiencies. I also think that this is an opportunity also for, you know, double clicking on that the coaching piece and that mental agility piece and that mental fitness piece that we were talking about earlier, as well as underlaying the red power list. And that is, we don't want these new leaders to grow up the way that, you know, the current generation and past generation of leaders have and now are facing burnout. We really want to come alongside them right now so they can begin to work on their self-awareness domains, their resilience domains, giving them tools in order to do that. And also they're able to practice that now. So as they continue to cultivate their new acumen as a people leader, but growing into that, they can have these tools at the ready, and so that they can continue to progress up the chain and be attentive to taking care of themselves while they're doing so. So I think that these are a few things that I feel will be helpful for high potentials in particular, and I think also helping some of the mid-level leaders as well.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. Exposure is key. We're at the top of the time, and we dropped Sheryl's LinkedIn profile into the chat. Please DM her directly. You had a couple questions, Sheryl, certainly, that I was able to respond to on the question and A section around just indicators and how companies know they're moving in the right direction. So please feel free to reach out to Sheryl directly and share the slides. Grab a copy if you want. Thank you very much. That is our time, and Please, thank you for joining us today, and please reach out to Sheryl on LinkedIn or directly.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Jennifer.
Bye, everyone.